Oh boy, this is a juicy read. I'm about halfway through it. Got it on my iPad. I'm enjoying it. I'm talking about Laptop from Hell by Miranda Devine, Hunter Biden, Big Tech, and the dirty secrets the president tried to hide. This is a sad family. This is a strange family, the Bidens, and also most likely a corrupt family, to be sure. So as I read the book, and there's a lot of things I can get into right now, I'm not going to get into this, but Hunter spends a lot of time sending the nastiest, meanest text messages and emails to his father. He's still upset about all kinds of stuff that happened way back when. Anyway, maybe later in the week, but for now, I have a few questions answered for myself. You ever notice that President Biden spends a heck of a lot of time boasting about how close he is to President Xi of China? I mean, I would expect that they would know each other, but for Joe Biden, he's taken it to the next level, always boasting about how much time they spent together.
I've spent more time with Xi Jinping, at least before we got out, than any world leader has. I've traveled 17,000 miles with him, the president of China.
I probably spent more time with Xi Jinping, I'm told, than any world leader has, because I had 24, 25 hours of private meetings with him when I was vice president, traveled 17,000 miles with him. I know him pretty well. I've spent more time with President Xi of China than any world leader has, for 24 hours of private meetings with him. I've spoken and spent more time with Xi Jinping than any other world leader has. I've had hours and hours and hours of meetings and personal conversations with Xi Jinping. I spent more time with him, I believe, than any other world leader has.
25 hours, 17,000, who cares? Why is he boasting? It's always something that I've noticed and I found kind of weird. Well, I'm not the only one. Take a look from Miranda Devine's book. It goes like this. Why is he doing that? Well, over the years, Joe's repeated emphasis on the number of meetings, miles flown, and total number of hours he had spent with Xi, rather than on the substance of anything achieved, was mystifying to a domestic audience and mistook it for empty boasting. That was me mistaking it for empty boasting, but here's the deal. But the metrics reflect a distinctive Chinese sensibility, Wulun, which refers to investment in a long-term relationship between a business and its client. All right, so Joe wasn't talking to us. He's talking to China and business people in China. That's what's happening here. Wulun, it's a real thing. Describes the basic dynamic in personalized networks of influence, which can be best described as the relationships individuals cultivate with other individuals, and is a central idea in Chinese society. Does it make sense now? He's boasting so much about President Xi, 17,000 miles all that time, whatever. I wonder what President Xi actually makes of Joe during those long conversations. But now it makes sense. And this is why Hunter made that trip on Air Force Two. Do you get it now? Do you get it? Air Force Two, China, there he is. I'm close to my son, of course. Get close to my son, get close to me, all right? And you get close to my son, you get close to me, and maybe you get close to Barack Obama. Hey, just a couple of guys at the basketball game. And consistently, if you ask Joe about any of this stuff, he blows his top.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
And so how do you know?
Here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened? That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum.
Well, here's what I know. Joe is lying when he said he doesn't talk business with his son. We know that by now. Oh, it's very apparent in this book. But the anger is a defense mechanism. He uses it a lot, especially on this issue.
How is your role as vice president in charge of policy in Ukraine, in your son's job in Ukraine, how is that not a conflict of interest?
It's not a conflict of interest. There's been no indication of any conflict of interest from Ukraine or anywhere else. Period. I'm not gonna respond to that. Let's focus on the problem. Focus on this man, what he's doing that no president has ever done. No president.
The anger. The anger is a weapon. I think he knows what he's doing. And it's thwarted people over the years from finding out the truth or actually even talking Joe into making the right decision. In the book, Laptop from Hell, it goes like this. Some of Joe's advisors were worried that Hunter, by meeting with the business associate during his father's visit, China, would expose the vice president to criticism over whether he was leveraging access for his benefit. You think? But it goes on. Now, whether they discussed their concerns with the vice president, several of them said that they had been too intimidated to do so. Everyone who works for him has been screamed at, a former advisor said. Others said they were wary of hurting his feelings. So you know you're onto something when you ask about these things and Joe flips his lid. Again, we can go into the Devon Archer angle and all that stuff. It gets complicated, but here's another juicy part that's sad, but it's kind of interesting, and I think it needs to be discussed. It would be discussed in any other family. Heck, what would they have done to the Trumps if this scenario played out? Take a look at two couples, all right? We've got Hunter Biden with his then-wife, Kathleen, and the late Beau Biden with Haley, his wife, at the same event. Well, you know what happened, right? Beau died, sadly, tragically, of brain cancer several years ago. And then Hunter and Haley became an item, all right? They started seeing each other, and it was pretty hot and heavy. Now, according to the book, well, they take a look at when this arrangement started. It could have started possibly right after the funeral, the day after the funeral. It's a possibility, okay? Now, they put out a statement saying that, oh, it was a year and a half later that they became a couple. Doesn't look that way. Again, the day after the funeral. Potentially. So if this happened to any family, right? A guy going out with his dead brother's wife, it's sad, right? I mean, dirty laundry to be sure. How did the Bidens spin it? How did Joe and Jill Biden spin this very twisted arrangement? They loved it. That's what they told us. And here's another example of how we know the Bidens are liars. We are lucky that Hunter and Haley found each other as they were putting their lives together again after such sadness. They have mine and Jill's full and complete support, and we are happy for them. No family in the world would be happy for this arrangement, and that statement is a lie. And the arrangement was pretty sad. What comes through in this book is that Joe Biden is a pretty corrupt guy, and who was able to call it out? When the evidence is everywhere, the media wouldn't, very few would. Donald Trump, though, he wasn't afraid.
If this stuff is true about Russia, Ukraine, China, other countries, Iraq, if this is true, then he's a corrupt politician.
Right.
So don't give me the stuff about how you're this innocent baby. Joe, they're calling you a corrupt politician.
Nobody's
President Trump, I want to stay on.
All right. He called him a corrupt politician. He did. He said that's what it looks like. And this laptop, the laptop from hell. So the moderator desperately tries to put the conversation back to race. Doesn't work. Joe Biden has something to say about the laptop. Are you ready?
There are 50 former national intelligence folks who said that what he's accusing me of is a Russian plant. They have said that this has all the five former heads of the CIA, both parties, say what he's saying is a bunch of garbage. Nobody believes it except his and his good friend Rudy Giuliani.
You mean the laptop is now another Russia hoax?
And that's exactly what.
Is this
that's
where you're
exactly
going?
what.
This is
told.
where he's going.
So it's been over a year, and they have not disputed the authenticity of this laptop. There's no comment. There's this. There's that. The CIA guys that Joe Biden was talking about, it's true that they wrote a letter and they tried to say that this was Russia misinformation, but the swamp being the swamp, they knew the deal and they gave themselves a big out. In that letter that Joe Biden is so proudly touting, I'm not corrupt, just ask these guys. They say this in the fine print. We want to emphasize that we do not know if the emails are genuine or not, and that we do not have evidence of Russian involvement. How about that, huh? How about that? So look, Joe Biden is in the White House right now. They have a great communications team. They have the power, the resources to dispute this book, and the book has been in the works for a long time. Why didn't they do anything about it, huh? This book is being distributed by Simon & Schuster. Miranda Devine is a prestigious, well-established journalist. This laptop essentially has now been verified. It's been verified. How about that? What would Joe say now? What's Joe going to say in the next debate if he makes it that far? Here's something, I'll end with this regarding the book, at least for now, that I found very sad, but also very revealing about the character of the Bidens. Okay, so it goes back to when Joe is Hunter's little boy. In his 2007 memoir, Joe Biden wrote that he once asked Hunter when he was a boy, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" "I want to be important," Hunter responded. The tragedy for Hunter and the danger for his father was that he never felt important enough. But how about that ambition, huh? I want to be important. So this got me thinking, what was Joe's reaction when your 8-year-old son says his ambition in life is to be important? Because in my book, that's not a worthy goal. You want to make contributions, you want to add value. You don't go seeking the recognition first, though. And that's what's happening here. So I looked up his 2007 memoir. What did Joe say? Did he say anything? And there's the story. In the middle of one of our hang-around days, I put the question to him. "So, Hunter, what do you want to be when you grow up?" "I want to be important." I knew what he meant. That's it. The chapter ends there. I knew what he meant. He didn't sit down and tell Hunter there are more important things in life to aspire to than being recognized on the street. And that is really sad. And that might be Joe Biden's greatest failure. I don't know. Well, that in Afghanistan.
You just watched Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news channel, now in more than 70 million homes. You can get Newsmax TV on your cable system or check your cable guide. And if your system doesn't carry Newsmax, call them. Tell them you want Newsmax TV, because we're real news for real people.